Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today's episode's all about holiday specials. So we are coming up to that time of year where you're probably thinking about running your holiday specials, or you're thinking about planning them anyway. So let's dive into it. What are holiday specials? What's a good example of holiday specials, and so forth? So why do I think you should run a holiday special? There's a couple different things. Obviously, we have the seasonal demand. So there's definitely holidays coming up. There's more like gatherings for that reason. And people are kind of thinking about that. Also, this is good to bring back clients. So running holiday specials sometimes is good for client retention. And obviously, it's good for revenue. So you're going to have that influx of revenue all of a sudden come in, which is fantastic. So a couple different reasons. The types of promotions is all unique to you, right? In your business and your client base. But here goes just a few that I, know about in the industry, or I have done myself. But you can do discounts. So obviously just offering a discount on all your services, or just offering a discount on your retail products. You can do bundles. So bundling services together, bundling services with retail. Those are always good ideas. Gift cards. This is a really good time of year to push your gift cards, because obviously that makes for a good present usually. Loyalty offers. So let's say like you have a loyalty program. So if people are part of like a membership program, or if they get their birthday free, or you have some kind of loyalty thing, maybe this is the good time of year to offer those loyal customers an extra bonus. It could be a retail item. It could be a discount. It could be a package. It could be like a renewal package, something like that. And also a flash sale. So flash sales are really exciting because they cause urgency, right? So you only have a certain amount of these to sell, or you only have a certain amount of time they can purchase it, and so forth. So you really have to decide what's good for your business and what are you comfortable with. So I always tell people and really look at your client base. Like I said, if you have a loyalty, membership type offering already, this might be just a good time to do that. If you are just only comfortable with offering a discount on your services and not your retail, there's all sorts of different ways to do it. But I will say, when you're thinking about these things, not only put your client first, so think about what your client really is going to be wanting from this. Like, if you were an ideal client from somebody, what would you want? Like, do you want a discount on retail because you're thinking about buying presents for all of your people around you? Or are you thinking about, I want to try a new service? There's all sorts of different ways to spin this. So I won't say there's anything bad, right? Because everybody's business is unique. But I will say, really try to think about that client first, and that focus is there. So your ideal client is always getting something that they're probably either wanting, or they've been talking about, or comes up in conversation, or you have a lot of things that fly off the shelf, or something like that. So really make it your own, make it something that's comfortable financially. So don't offer a huge discount if that's not something you can, survive through. But I would start thinking about what you're willing to offer. So maybe write it down. So if this is your first time running a holiday special or anything like that, write it down and see how it feels even being written down, right? Or put it on your phone and see what it looks like on your phone. Say, you know what, I am comfortable with running that. And another thing that I've seen people do is creating a holiday theme service. So if you offer facials, that's always kind of something that I see most often, is you're creating these holiday theme type facials, right? So like a Christmas facial, or, something that goes along with the cold weather, or pumpkin enzyme, or, there's all sorts of different things that you can do with that. So you can also play around with that. Like, hey, I have this pumpkin facial at the end of this month for this, and we only have 20 of them. So run a flash sale. We only have 20 of them available, certain things like that. So you can really have fun this time of year. Like I said, this is a good opportunity to bring those clients back in. So maybe you have some clients that you haven't seen for a while. You are going to be sending your email out, or however you like to communicate to your clients about these things coming up, and it might bring them back in. Also, for that reason, you might have clients purchasing things that they don't normally purchase. So maybe retail products for somebody else, or maybe they do try a service they've never tried and they want to, so that's more revenue coming in. And then this is the time of year when your clients are thinking about it. So that's, there's always that mind, right? So I always tell people, like, if you're not going to be running a special or doing something special for the seasons coming up and the holiday season coming up, somebody else will be. So your client potentially could be going somewhere else for those things. So this does take a little planning, but I will say, like, this is pretty much the time of year you should be starting to talk about things, especially if you're running like a Halloween type facial or special. Like, you need to be marketing that now, right? In the next coming weeks here, because it's on people's minds. People are getting ready for that date, and a lot of people like to celebrate it. So and then, of course, if people do celebrate Thanksgiving, if they do celebrate anything in November, so these are all things to think about. So plan them, start coming up with, maybe some social media posts, start coming up with some emails, start coming up with your texting that you usually do, if that's something you do, however you like to promote. This is a good time of year to start collaborations with people. So if you're thinking about doing something and maybe you have a friend that has a business next to you or close by, you guys could collaborate on something. This is a good time of year to maybe try some new marketing techniques as well. So if you're like, I've never tried doing email marketing, highly suggest it. You should be capturing all of your clients' email addresses if you can and sending them regular emails. And that could be educational emails, it could be discount emails, it could be, I'm filling up fast type email. I mean, you should be sending them emails periodically anyway. And so if you haven't tried that, try that. If you have an opportunity to try text marketing, which I know can be a little spendy for some, but maybe try that if you have the budget for it. If you haven't tried, collaborating with local service providers in your area or even local businesses. So I always say, like, think outside the box. Like, sometimes banks even, or if you have some businesses right by you that people frequent, and your client maybe would frequent, obviously we always need to be thinking about that ideal client. Maybe ask them if you could put something up at the front, or you could put a little package together, or, something like that. But, meeting your neighbors, meeting the other service providers in your area is very important just for collaboration efforts, because you'd be surprised. Collaborations work really well. This is also a good time of year to do pop-ups. So a lot of businesses are doing their holiday pop-up events, and they'll do kind of like seasonal, parties and things like that. And that would be a good opportunity for you to have a table. You don't have to offer services, because I know in the beauty industry, it's really hard to legally offer services at a pop-up event, but you don't have to do that. You can just show, what you do, maybe bring some pictures, maybe bring some advertisements, bring your flyers, bring, a brochure, bring your cards, just have some talking points. I know another thing that people do at pop-ups is they'll do like a spin the wheel. So you can win prizes that way, or you can do like, a door prize type thing. I mean, there's all sorts of different things you can do at a pop-up event and having a table there, but this is a really good time of year for that. And that's also another good reason why you should be, going out and meeting your neighbors, so to speak, and meeting the people that are around you, like the businesses specifically, because you never know what that business might hold. Maybe you have a business that's going to hold up an event, and that would be a really good event for you to, be at. So there's all sorts of opportunities for marketing. Obviously, if you have a way of marketing that's been really helpful for you and worked over the years, do that again. But if you are kind of newer to this and this is your first time running a holiday special, go out there and do something that kind of scares you a little bit, and you'd be surprised. The other thing I want you to do with all this, though, is track your results. So I know that can be really tricky for some if you don't have a tracking set up or anything like that. But if you do have an online way that people process your credit cards, let's say, so like for instance, I go through Square. Square keeps all of my metrics. So how much of a service I've sold, like what are my discounts, I put all my discounts on there. I have all my marketing emails sent through there. So it keeps track of how many people open, how many people unsubscribe, how many people clicked through it. If I do put any buttons in those marketing emails that they can click on, which is very helpful. So those metrics really help me a lot, but this is also a good time of year where you can start asking people how they heard about you, or how did they hear about the special, or how did they, because you'd be surprised, especially because I highly suggest you always are going to market many different ways. So you never know what way is really truly working for you and your ideal client until you keep those metrics, right? So start having those conversations more regularly and frequently. So like if you have a new client come in and let's say you already are running your specials, ask that client, say, hey, do you live close by, or how'd you hear about me? And that's really as simple as that. It opens that door, that client can answer it. They'll give you an answer and you can work with that. Now, keeping metrics other than if through your credit card processing or your online profiling, you can just keep a spreadsheet. I mean, Google has some really good spreadsheets that are available. There's even stuff that you can download off Canva. So if you're really looking for a template, something like that, a lot of free ways to do that as well. But I highly suggest getting something to track your results with things because, when other holiday seasons or other seasons come up, so let's say like New Year's stuff is very popular as well. And I highly suggest starting to market for that as well. And then it's like Valentine's Day, and then there's like spring break, and then, so there's always something coming up. So I will say like towards the end of the year, obviously there's just a lot of holiday type vibe going on in one cluster. But I will say there's always an opportunity to hold a special or hold some kind of loyalty program or do anything like that in different parts of the year as well. So this might be just a good opportunity for you to start and kind of flex that muscle a little bit and see how it feels and try some new things and see what kind of clients come back or what kind of clients come in. But I highly suggest try running some kind of holiday special. It will give you results. And thank you for listening. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. If you are wanting more marketing tips, business tips, or anything like that, I have a lot of resources on my website. So I have PDFs that you can download for free. So look in your show notes. There should be a link in the show notes that you can click on and it'll take you right to my coaching website. And thanks for listening.